Good morning. I was glad to see those two children, older children, sneak in right at the end. That was great. So my name is Mary, for those of you who don't know me, and this is the children's message for the morning. Maybe you remember the snowman from last week. I think it'll stay, will it? Okay. It's just a way to show 9 different Bible characters. This is going to be our study over the next little while. And we're going to look at their personalities. And then we're going to see if you can look at your own and say, do you think I'm like him, or do you think I'm more like her? And you might find you're a mix of some of those things. Last week we had Paul, and he was a pretty distinctive character. I did do snowmen because this is January. Usually we have snow. I think by tomorrow you might have snow, so you might be able to build a snowman. So it just gives us kind of a fun way. And I think one of the girls over there made this snowman for me last week. Yeah? Yeah. Oh, it was Hannah. There you go. Thank you, Hannah. So you can see that today we're going to look at the character named Mary. And there are a few Marys in the Bible, so I want to be sure and clarify. This is Mary, the mother of Jesus. We talked about her quite a bit in December, and of course we just went through the Christmas story, so we focused on Mary a bit there too, but we're going to look at her from a little different angle this morning. We're going to look at what we think her personality was. Just a quick review, of course. Mary was a teenager, and in those days they got engaged very young, 14 maybe she was, and she was engaged to be married to Joseph. And then she got a visit from an angel. And very often, if not every time in the Bible, when they record a story where someone got a visit from an angel, almost always the angel has to say, do not be afraid. So we have to imagine that when that angel showed up, it must have been a startling experience, right? It was startling. And so she's 14 and she's standing there all alone, and she gets a visit from an angel, and he says to her, Mary, you have been chosen to be in God's plan, to be the mother of God's Son, Jesus. That would have been pretty shocking news, okay? And I was thinking that if I can kind of put myself in her shoes or sandals, she would have been zooming some thoughts around in her head, because if I was her, I think I'd be thinking, okay, if I become pregnant with God's Son before I'm married to Joseph, is he going to marry me? Probably not. She might have thought about that. What's my family going to say? That would have been a situation where they might have said, we don't understand this. I don't know what happened. And maybe they would have disowned her. She might have thought that might happen. And then friends and people around, who they all lived in the village together, maybe they will talk about me in bad ways. And so all of those thoughts perhaps just zipped in her head right away when he said, God's plan is for you to be the mother of his Son. But this is what Mary said. I am the Lord's servant. Let it happen as you have said. So I think we would characterize Mary in that situation for being not only a helper, but a self-sacrificing helper. And by that I mean self-sacrificing would be like you're not putting your own ideas first, your own plans for your life. Mary wouldn't have had that plan for her life. And yet she put that plan aside to be helping God with his plan. So she was a self-sacrificing helper. She didn't think about what it would cost her, but instead she said, here I am. I'll give you my whole life, and you do what you need to do. And so we know how that all played out. Another time that we see Mary wanting to help in the Bible is she's sitting at a wedding. And in those days, weddings went on for a very long time, and they ate and drank a lot of meals that went on and on and on. And I'm thinking Mary was sitting there, and she might have noticed something that not many people noticed, or certainly not everyone would have noticed. She noticed, the host ran out of wine. That would have been a big embarrassment to the host, right? And she thought, he needs help. The host needs help. because this is embarrassing. I want to do something to help. But she couldn't do anything specifically about it, but she knew who could, so she called her son Jesus over. He was a man now. He was grown up. And she just presents him the problem. They are out of wine. And she knew she could trust him to figure it out. And that's when Jesus did his first public miracle. He took just ordinary water and he turned it into wine. And it saved the host the embarrassment, right? Because Mary was keyed in. She was watching and she wanted to help. Well, what if you think, yeah, maybe I am kind of like Mary. Maybe that is my personality. Maybe I'm a helper. I'm always trying to I look for people in need, or I see people in need and I just want to go help. Well, if you're one of the kids listening today, I was thinking maybe it would look something like this. You walk into your classroom, which you might get to do tomorrow, if it doesn't snow too much, and you see a group of kids, maybe 4 or 5 kids, and they're loud, laughing, and they're playing a game, and it looks like fun, but you don't go over to them. And then you see 2 kids looking at a book together, and they're pointing at pictures, and it looks really interesting, and you're kind of curious, but you don't go to them. Because over here you see a girl, and she's sitting there, and she looks sad. And you feel sad looking at her. And you think, I wonder what she needs. I wonder what's wrong. I want to help. So you go over to her, and you talk with her, and you see if there's anything you can do to help. That's probably means that you're something like Mary, that you're a self-sacrificing helper, because it would have been fun to join the game. It might have been interesting to look at the book. But you want to meet the need. You want to go and help somebody who's hurting. The thing that you have to be careful of, if that's you, is that you can't help everybody all the time. Let's see, how did I put this? Oh, you have to remember to take care of yourself, too. Now, Jesus was the perfect model for us, right, of how to live. And you know, he was seeing needs around him everywhere. People who were hungry, people who were hurting, people who were sick, people who were blind, people who were lame, couldn't walk. He didn't heal everybody. He didn't meet every single need, did he? And he modeled for us that he took his time to go and pray with God, the Father. He took that time. There were times when he said, I'm going away alone for a little bit. Or he took his disciples with him. He said, let's go away for a little bit of quiet. Because he knew you need to have a balance, because you can't just be helping everybody all the time. So if this is you, and this is your personality, that you like to put other people's needs ahead of your own, and you want to be a helper, that's great. But you also want to remember, you have to take care of yourself a little bit too, and know when you need some time to be quiet or time with the Lord. So that's going to be our model for today. Thank you.